Hello, I'm Mike Jones from FCSI's Foodservice Consultant Magazine. Welcome to this FCSI panel session hosted here at the FoodSpace headquarters in Boise, Idaho during the Paella and Paella event. I'm delighted to say that this episode is supported by Alto-Shaam, and we're here with three great panelists to discuss labour-saving innovation in the kitchen. So let me ask my participants to introduce themselves. Joshua, let's start with you first, please.
Yes, I'm Joshua Miller, founder and principal consultant of Remarkable Academic Foods, based in Albany, New York.
Fantastic. Joshua, thanks for joining us. Tyler?
Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Tyler Pallas. I'm the executive chef here at FoodSpace.
Thank you, Tyler. And Sean?
My name is Sean Fleming. I am the Western Regional for Alto-Shaam.
Wonderful. And thank you for your support today, Sean. First question to you, Tyler. Let's set the scene here. From your perspective as a chef, why is labour still the number one issue that's affecting operators right now? And also, how bad has the situation got?
You know, I think there's a few things that go into this. I think the cost of labor as a whole is the biggest part. Operators that work state to state that have multiple units, cost of labor in California is very different than the cost of labor in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, New York, right? Like we have huge spectrums of labor, and just the overall cost is huge for operators. And we haven't really driven prices all the way where they could be to offset that yet. So I think that's the first part of it. Staffing shortages as a whole, just people wanting to learn the game, wanting to learn the business, just wanting to participate in the business is, I think the shortage of that is a very real thing. The people cooking is becoming a lost craft in a way. So, and then the other part of it is, you know, we still work as chefs and cooks and all operators. We still work long hours. We still have high pressure, high intense, and burnout is still a real thing in the business as far as labor is concerned, and it does affect people's ability to maintain consistency throughout the program. So that's really, you know, it in a nutshell for me that I think is happening within the labor problems. So
absolutely, yeah. As Joshua, to Tyler's point there, this is a major issue affecting the industry. How far-reaching is it? And also, what are the key drivers for it? A lot of the blame of this is laid at the door of the COVID pandemic, but it's more far-reaching there, presumably. How systemic is this issue?
Yeah, it's this COVID, like a lot of things, just made it speed up. The problems that were already there, it just exaggerated everything very quickly. I think that we were actually running into this problem years before COVID. Right. And even if you look at culinary schools, the peak admissions really kicked up when shows like Chopped came on Food Network. Like they had all this interest. I want to be a chef. I can do this. And then we started having issues with culinary schools staying open. We had some big institutions closed down, multiple locations across the country. And so between that and the generational shift of the newer generations and what they want out of employment, out of their careers, that's also been changing, where it's competing not just pay, but also like the culture. Yeah. They're saying that in college, culture is just as important, if not more important, than the actual pay itself. So they're looking for something different. The days of the badge of honor of working 90 plus hours a week, that's going down. We can't continue that way as an industry, because that's not what these younger generations are going to want, and it's not sustainable. It's not healthy.
No, absolutely, it's not healthy. Sean, let's look at some of the knock-on effects that the industry is experiencing because of these challenges. What are you seeing? How are these problems manifesting?
So what I'm seeing is that operators are being asked to do more with less, right? And the customers, their expectations still remain high. And I think part of the effect of that, to piggyback on what my colleague said, was there's burnout, right? So if you're in this environment and you're expected to do more with less, and you're expected to maintain these high Yelp reviews and things like that, it burns you out. You know, you're working 60 hours a week because somebody called in sick, or because you can't hire enough people to cover your service for the night. And it's really impacting, the operators, and you're seeing the burnout. You know, that's definitely a thing. You're seeing restaurants opening and closing quicker. You know, the life expectancy of a restaurant, you know, you're lucky if you could last 2 years. So I think that it really, really is taking its toll on the industry as a whole. And there are other things that are impacting it as well. I mean, you know, geopolitical and economic, it's hard to pay the bills working in this industry. It's hard to hire people when migration is reversing. It's just the reality of the industry right now. And it's not just people thought coming out of COVID, it was just an effect of COVID. Well, I think that COVID's far enough in our rearview mirror to know that this is here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's here to stay, Sean, and I guess this is a question for all of our panel, but can we fix it? Can we arrest the course? What's your view on that?
Can we fix it? I think we have to just rethink the industry. And I think that innovation and technology is a big part of that. How do we give the operators the ability to do more with less, to execute with a less skilled labor pool, to make it easier to execute high quality, high standard food without burning out your staff?
Great stuff, Sean. Thank you. Tyler, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think with proper training and support and follow up with all of our staff, I mean, we can really chip away at just the mentalities of the burnout and the long hours, and sometimes maybe the lack of tech in the kitchen, right? Like we need to have support for our staff, because ultimately they are still, the forefront of this. And I think proper training is everything in this situation. We have to follow up with our people, because they're still the forefront of this.
Absolutely. Joshua, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think that two parts to this. Is it going to make improvements? Yes. The question is the speed. The industry as a whole is dealing with so many different challenges, more than just labor. The consumer behaviors, tracking that, keeping up with the technology. Like there's so many other aspects that they're having to constantly make changes and improvements for, that it's almost like it's playing this Jenga of prioritization.
Yeah.
And then the other side of this is in terms of the actual labor itself, is how do we start to make improvements as an industry? It starts with small bites of organizations. The organizational levels need to start making changes, and then slowly through time, that's going to bleed out into other organizations. And then as a whole, we can start to say, okay, the industry's coming up, but it starts with the smaller level. Start with the organizations, the individual restaurants, start there, make those improvements, and then let the industry follow suit.
Absolutely. That phrase, playing the Jenga of prioritization, is a phrase I'm going to shamelessly steal. Use it as my own. It's really good. Let's stay with you, Joshua. What is the role of the consultant in all of this then ultimately? So how is something like the dealing with the labor gap, how does the consultant help here? Tyler was talking there about education, training, getting that mindset of the operator. What's the consultant's role in kind of bringing to bear in that situation?
Yeah, the consultant's role is helping to educate the clients that we have and the industry in general. Our role as consultants is to learn both sides. Yeah. What do the clients have, and what does the industry have to offer? In terms of industry solutions, not just technology, not just equipment, everything. And educating the clients is our role in this case, in terms of helping them make the right strategic decisions. And without that, because they're not going to all of the different industry events and getting all the education directly from the manufacturers, that's what we are here for. And that's our job. So we're here to share the knowledge. That's the role.
In terms of sharing that knowledge, Tyler, one of those aspects is investing in innovation that can ultimately help operators. Are you seeing operators investing in that kind of innovative technology that can ultimately help them in the long run that Sean was talking about? Is that coming? Is this kind of technology helping answer those needs of operators?
Oh yeah. People are starting to buy into the reason why the innovative technology can be helpful to them. It's making us more consistent from a single unit operator. It's going to make us consistent from the day to day, whether you have your saute cook working on that piece of equipment, or maybe they call in sick the next day and Jen has to fill in. They can create the same final product with some of this innovative technology, where we can pre-program, the machines to do some of the hard work for us. We can program them to turn on and start a task overnight when there's nobody in the building. We can then, utilize this unit to unit. Now, if we have multiple units across the country, we can push some of these recipes into these machines, state to state, country to country, even, to make us uniform with our product, with our final product and what we're selling to our guests. I want the same product coming out of California that I do New York, that I do out of Texas. That's the game here, is consistency. Consistency is everything in my eyes. But the other side of this is, with innovative technology, we still have to teach our people the fundamentals of cooking, right? Like they still have to know what it's supposed to taste like. They still have to understand, what it's supposed to look like. It can't just be, oh, the machine did it for me. The machine program is going to do it for me. Well, it doesn't know that, Bobby uses salt in the recipe, and maybe Jen picked up the sugar and used the recipe, or used sugar instead of salt in that same recipe. And now there's no consistency there. So anyway, again, just falling back to the training, and just like, this is all a package deal.
Thank you, Tyler. Let's get your view on that. So what kind of innovation, what kind of technology is demonstrably working here? What's kind of really making a difference to operators from your perspective?
Right. So with Alto-Shaam, particularly our structured air technology has been a huge game changer as far as consistency, the ability to not have to babysit the oven, not having to rotate pans, the consistent even cook from chamber to chamber, I think is very beneficial. Touching on what Tyler was speaking about, our Chef Link program, which can link pieces of equipment and report back, run reports, HACCP, things like that. And then you can push and pull recipes with other ovens across the country. So if you have your less skilled operator, your employee, maybe the guy doesn't exactly have all the fundamentals, the foundation, but he doesn't have to be the most skilled person to execute this dish. The recipe's programmed in there. It really dummies it down. It talks him through it. If you get a new employee coming in, it's a lot easier to train an employee to follow the directions on a keypad than it is to teach them how much time that should be in the oven, when to flip it, what the caramelization would be like, what the Maillard effect is, and all of these different things. And so, for certain operators, it's the technology that's going to help them stay consistent, because, as Tyler mentioned, again, consistency is the key. And if you're not consistent, then, if I go to a store or if I go to a restaurant in New York and I love it, and then I fly out to California and I want to go and get that same meal and it's a completely different experience, well, all of a sudden I'm soured on that restaurant.
Yes.
So I feel like the technology is really important in helping that consistency.
Absolutely. Tyler, Sean mentioned there about equipment being able to link up together. How are you seeing connectivity of equipment in the kitchen making a difference to the whole labor piece?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff happening with connected kitchens right now. We're seeing, single point apps where we can track refrigeration temperatures. We can track, it's going to notify us if equipment usage, we're running roasting programs this many times a day. We're running these programs this many times a day on this machine. You can we're tracking credit card swipes. We're tracking all things used from one point of contact now in these apps. And within that, it's allowing us, again, to be consistent. We can now push this content, across the country to our different sites, and it's allowing us to have that consistency from unit to unit, from site to site, that we can ultimately just be consistent and better for.
Absolutely. Joshua, how are you seeing innovation being able to make a difference to operators?
Yeah, so I see a lot of use in the flexibility that innovation is bringing. So we need to be flexible in operations. We know that in order to be able to adapt to the changes, whether it's on the labor end or on the consumer end. And so that term I was using well before I even became a consultant, speaking with clients and just saying, I want to make this big change, an entire building, but I had to assure them that it was flexible enough that if it was a flop, we could change it back. Yeah. Right. So flexibility is definitely a big piece in that. And then the other side to that is the reducing the knowledge gap. So what they're saying about consistency and being able to onboard team members quicker, faster for that, and being able to do it widespread geographically, we're reducing that knowledge gap. So something as simple as a combi oven, going back with the flexibility as well, install it. I can now smoke in it. I can now do a brisket. If a cook can insert a probe into a piece of brisket and put it in the oven, press a button that's already been programmed, go through a 5-step process from the smoking through the holding, that reduced the knowledge gap significantly. And that's, one major case. Even something as simple as hot cold wells, the flexibility of that. Instead of just being all hot, we take that for granted and think, oh, from a consumer perspective, it looks so clean to have it all in that in the wells instead of having individual bowls. But there's also the food safety side of that of, okay, now I don't have to train the frontline person. Okay, you got to change the ice out every so often and make sure you're checking the temp and make sure that it looks nice. So we reduce that knowledge gap of that and saying, listen, the cold well's ready, put the food in, refresh.
Yeah.
So that's the other side to this.
And all of this, Sean, plays into the speed of service as well. It's reducing the knowledge gap, is also reducing service times as well. How are you seeing speed of service improving for operators?
Well, I think the equipment is definitely helping, the technology. I think that these fast cook ovens, rapid cook ovens are definitely helping. Talking about overnight cooking, I think that that's a big thing, being able to execute, to be able to cook something without anybody in the kitchen, during the downtime. I really feel like things like that, it's giving your employees the ability to focus on more stuff when they come in. And also the technology is helping to streamline the menus. And I think that with this technology, I had mentioned before, doing more with less, it's giving the operators the ability to do more on their menu with less equipment. Yeah. As hood spaces, as square footage becomes more and more expensive, how can I execute these high-end menus or multiple dish menus with less equipment, or one piece of equipment like a combi oven that can do multiple things? It can smoke, it can steam, it can roast, it can do all of these things.
Fantastic. Tyler, to your earlier point, you often bring things back to the people in the kitchen, as of course you would do. How do we keep that balance between this wonderful innovation but also having people at the heart of hospitality? How do we retain that?
Right. I think this is a cool one, because this is still the industry, the service industry. We still crave that connection, right? We want to make the connection with the people. We crave that as humans. We want to have relationships with people, and that's the connection that would, where we free up time with the innovation. Our people are allowed to focus on tasks that they might be more interested in, like customer service, maybe, because in the workplace dining world, let's say it, the people that are cooking the food ultimately are the people that are serving the food. Yes. So if we can take some of the time off their plate with the physical keystrokes of cooking the food, we can now maybe help mentor them in some situations that they might not be as comfortable with, like customer service. And we create those moments now that we can leverage the innovation to create more human moments. I think, the innovation allows us to still make our connections, which is, why we still do this.
Absolutely, I think. Why we're all here. To Tyler's point there, Sean, about leveraging innovation, one of the kind of the outputs of this is a lot of data from the machines. How does actually analyzing data to see how efficient a kitchen is running and how you can make incremental improvements in that, why is that important? Why does that matter to actually analyze the data and use it to keep improving operations?
Well, data is basically an ingredient. It's part of the success of a restaurant. And the more data we have, the more that we can drill down and see where our costs are, where our time is being spent. Our Chef Link, I think, is really good at assisting operators with that. You can see. You can basically see how many times a recipe was run on a particular day, and you can run that report. I like to use the example of an expensive dish like a lobster mac and cheese, right? And you've got this on your menu and you have it programmed in. You can run a report weekly, monthly, to see how many completed cooks on that particular recipe. And how does that help you out? Well, I can see on a Monday, we sold 12 lobster mac and cheeses, but on Fridays and Saturdays, we're selling 40. So that's going to help you with your ordering, with your food cost. Also, HACCP is very important. It's protecting the operator, it's protecting the customer, being able to see the data and be able to see that you were cooking things to temp to the right time and holding it at the right temperature so that people don't get sick. Maintenance. I think that being able to run a report to see these error codes, or to see when was the last time that the oven was cleaned, all of this information is useful and beneficial in helping you just be more efficient and more cost effective.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. Great answer. Joshua, one aspect of innovation we're hearing a lot about all the time at the moment is artificial intelligence, AI. How do you see the impact that AI is currently having, but also will have on how we operate kitchens in the future, and what impact will that have on the whole labor piece as well?
Yeah, so it's here to stay, for one, and it's definitely going to have, I think, a bigger impact on the back end of operations, more so than the consumer end. It's not to say that it won't benefit the consumer end, it absolutely will. But in terms of everything from your ordering to your waste management to your inventory, all that, AI is constantly being driven into it. The software companies are constantly adding it as an offering with what it's included in what they sell, which is great because this is now giving us more insights for the decision makers, the operators, the management team to make the right decisions, to be more efficient. And that's going to benefit the frontline workers because if they're making more efficient decisions, such as scheduling and all that, then that's going to obviously benefit them as well, which then bleeds onto the guests.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. Tyler, what kind of impact do you see AI having on the whole labor issue in the industry?
Oh, I think AI as far as in the kitchen, I think we're going to see AI being used a lot for scheduling. I have this many people, this many stations, these many events a week. Can you write, how many people do I need to plug into this schedule? I think AI is going to be used a lot with, prep lists and writing menus, and it's just little things as easy as, hey, I need a 4-course menu. Please provide me a prep list. Please provide me a timeline of how this all needs to be brought together. And now you're eliminating a lot of those keystrokes with multiple people being involved. So
yeah, absolutely. Sean, what kind of practical application do you see AI is having in this industry?
It's so early on. It's like, 14 years ago we had an iPhone and we thought it was the most amazing thing. And look at now, if we had that same phone in our hand, we would be like, yeah, this thing is worthless. So it's so early on. I think that, and AI is moving so fast that I don't think we can really even scratch the surface on how much it's going to impact our industry. But as far as labor savings are concerned, I can see AI helping cooks learn to cook by giving them feedback, by analyzing intelligent cooking programs, and like Tyler said, scheduling, inventory maintenance, all of these different things will be impacted, and hopefully the end result is that it will trickle to the consumer and they will be getting a better product for it, and hopefully a more affordable product, getting costs down by having a computer that can do some of the menial tasks that a kitchen manager or a cook or a chef would have to do in the past.
Yeah, superb. Thank you, Sean. A final question, and if you could all answer it, if the panel could all take this one on, please. Will labour remain the primary problem, the primary challenge for operators through 2026 and beyond, do you think? And is innovation the only way to fix it? Is it just part of the solution? Is there a whole more holistic solution we need to wrap around this issue? What's your thoughts on that, Sean?
As far as, yes, the labor problem, I feel like, is here to stay unless something really drastic changes. I think it's forcing change in an industry that's probably needed to change. I think it's forcing consultants to think differently about how they design a kitchen with not just the menu and the food in mind. It's about how can I design this kitchen to be more efficient and save labor for this operator, knowing the challenges and the struggles that they're going to have. So yeah, I think that it's just going to continue to impact. I don't really see it changing. I'd see the industry changing to adapt.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent, Sean. Thank you. Tyler, same question.
Yeah, I think labor is going to continue to be a problem. I think as automation continues to progress, I think the need to learn the craft kind of fades a little bit. So I think we're going to have to ramp up our innovation even more, because I think we're going to keep getting this fall off of the people part of this, and it's going to be a tough juggling act to be able to utilize a lot of this tech and still keep our people whole and like wanting to learn and wanting to have passion for this business, which is why we all do it. The passion has to be there, and ultimately, you don't want to take that away with innovation, right? Like, we have to nurture the passion still with innovation, I think.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tyler. Joshua, same question.
Yeah. What his fear is exactly my fear. Innovation is still going to be a problem through 2026. Innovation Can it help? Yes. But is it necessary? No. Let's get back to holistic, like just the right things to do. We have to stop thinking of it as you're a frontline worker, humanizing them, right? So going back to something as simple as training and development, it's not, does it have to be so focused on what their job is, what they're doing for you? We all know it's what's in it for me mindset is coming into the country and the younger generations. How about some development on them in general as a person, leadership skills? How about some development on the soft skills, customer service? How about benefits, right? Is it just vacation and, personal time off? Or is it, we have financial planning options if you're interested in that, maybe a gym membership perk, and then just really going to the human element altogether and tying it with, okay, you're a person, we respect the frontline team members, and let's show it. I was with a client a couple weeks ago, and one of the big successes they had recently with their team was cookie decorating. How much did that cost? And they had their pastry chefs make these beautiful cookies, and they got to show them how to do different icing tricks and all that. And that culture piece, the human aspect of the front line, we need that. And that has to continue in the industry moving forward.
Yeah, it really is about melding that innovation.
Innovation isn't the silver bullet. It's innovation, and it is people.
Yeah.
And the kitchens of the future have to be more innovative, but so do the people working in these kitchens. We also need to focus on them.
We really do. Gentlemen, thank you for sharing your passion for this industry, which clearly is undimmed. And thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today, Joshua, Tyler, and Sean. Thank you as well to Alto-Shaam for supporting this event, and thank you for watching.